Hello, family. Welcome back to our Journey into Tech Wonderful series. If you have been tuning in and rocking with us since the beginning of this month or even last month, go ahead and drop some love in the chat. My name is Chanel. I am the founder and CEO of Mentor Me Collective. We are on a mission to empower first generation individuals who are looking to pivot or continue their journey in tech. And we do that in a myriad of ways by making sure that we are providing the opportunity for you to gain skills, extend your knowledge, and make sure that you have that confidence to back up that energy in an interview. Okay. We do that through our education programs that are absolutely free. We are partnered with Grow with Google. We also have amazing initiatives and events that we do to help you find your next tech mentor. Okay. Like this. Okay. You never know where the road may take you. But we also have community events in general. So whether we're doing events like this virtually or we're also doing events, I'll say even in person here in New York City. Next year, we are looking to do events at a city near you, so stay tuned. But we're super excited. We're super excited to bring educational opportunities to you to make sure that you're making the best choice and the most aligned choice when it comes to your specific career. So before we jump into this amazing session today, a couple of announcements. If you are tuning in on LinkedIn, go ahead and let us know you are part of the LinkedIn squad in the chat below, but also make sure that you are following us on LinkedIn. We'd love for you to stay up to date about all the things that are coming your way. And we do post a lot of awesome content on our LinkedIn channel. If you are not following us, please go ahead and do so when it comes to jobs, recruiters, hiring, events, all the things that's happening. The party is jumping over on LinkedIn. Also, if you are viewing us here on YouTube, or if you didn't know we are on YouTube currently, we are on YouTube, and we would love for you to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe. We have more content coming, not only tomorrow and the day after that, but also next month as well. Okay, so outside of that, we want to encourage you to join our Slack community. So if you are on YouTube, you'll notice that there is a comment in the comment section in the live chat with a link. We invite you to join our Slack community. Find your next tech bestie, or just come vibe. Get all the things, the resources that we have in there, from job resources, learning and resources, and especially other events that may be happening in a city or near, I should say, a city. near you. Okay. You can also connect with mentors like the most amazing Jasmine, other tech professionals, and obviously like minded individuals to help you with growing. So, without further ado, oh, before I say that, if you're interested even in understanding or learning a little bit more about what we do, because we are a community driven organization committing to supporting the next generation of technologists. If you're interested in understanding what that looks like for you and how you can be a part of it, whether as a mentor or a mentee, or as someone who's looking to participate in our learning programs, please visit our website at mentormecollective.org. And we'll be more than happy to respond to anyone that sends us a connect through there. Okay. Well, here's to the latest and greatest. We're super excited to have Jasmine Yadeta with us today. Jasmine is a talented product manager with a track record of leading innovative projects and working closely with cross functional teams to bring ideas to life. She's here to share her journey, insights, and advice on breaking into this wonderful field. And it is an amazing and incredible, thriving field of product management. Welcome to the stage, Madam Jasmine.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Of
I'm
course. I'm so excited to have you here. I have been following your journey for quite some time, and you are absolutely incredible. You share so many incredible resources, and you're just an advocate for individuals who may not know about product management and may want to get into project management. But I have a question for you. What is your favorite part of being a product manager?
Yes. Great question. I think, and I'll get into this in my story a bit, but I think it's because it gets to use all the parts of me that I like best. I get to use all of the skills, all of the assets, all of the things that I think I do really well and that I like to do, and I get to put it all into one. And I think that there's no better career when you get to do all that all together.
I absolutely agree. And so, without further ado, over to you, madam.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I do have to give a shout out to our girl Chanel for having a space to learn about these roles, for how to get into them. I'll chat about my journey in a hot sec, but I didn't even know this career space of product existed until a mentor told me about it. Uh, and I just think that being able to have a community like this is what's going to help propel you to the right career for you. So thank you, Chanel, for having this forum. Thank you for making this space. And thank you for inviting me into this space. Shout out. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to start with an agenda and then I'm going to hop into stuff about me today. So I am a product manager at Ticketmaster. I'll go a little bit more into that journey in a second, but of course, I had to do a little music related puns on this agenda here. So we're going to start with setting the stage, talking a little bit about my journey. I'm going to go into what product actually is and break down what I actually do and how my role is. And then we're going to talk about, is product right for you? I feel like that's a huge conversation that I think needs to be had. And then we're going to get into that advice. My goal today is to give you a foundational learning and understanding of product, give you some insight to what the role is, and give you the tools to determine if that's the right path for you. And if that is the right path, how are you going to actually make that pivot? So that's what we're hoping to do today. A little disclaimer, this is all my opinion. I've been in the product field for a couple years. I've tried really hard to learn as much as I can about it. And so these opinions are mine based on my personal experience and what I've kind of gotten out of it. So let's jump into my journey. So like I said, my name is Jasmine. I'm a senior product manager at Ticketmaster, and my role is the Ticketmaster app globally. So if you download the app anywhere in the world, that is the app I work on. My sister is going to be very upset that I've let this picture hit the internet, but this is us at our first concert. It was Selena Gomez, shout out. So to give you a little insight to me, I love seeing concerts, live events. I am always trying to find the best matcha in every city I go to. And I also really enjoy running and hiking. I'm currently based in Los Angeles, California, and just moved here from Vancouver, BC, Canada. All right. So jumping into my journey, I didn't know what product was until 2021. And so for me, my journey in university started very differently. I started as a psychology major. I had no technical experience. I think the only class I took in high school was like typing, and I didn't even like it that much. Um, I started experimenting and taking a couple different classes at my university. They were very open there for you to take kind of cross-department courses, and started to explore what were some of the other options. Did I actually enjoy other things? And was I even good at some of these other things? So after about a year of university, I added in the computer science portion, making it a combined computer science and psychology degree. And during that period, I was adamant to get as much experience as possible in these areas to see, am I actually liking what I'm doing? So for 2 years, I was a full-time iOS developer and a full-time student with a professor on campus as I was completing my degree. It was an incredible experience, an incredible team. But in that position, I did learn that real full-time coding was not the path for me. I think that there was a lot of aspects of computer science and coding that I enjoyed. And there were some parts that I was like, I just don't think I can do this every single day. And so that kind of prompted me to start looking at other opportunities. I took 5 years to do my degree. I graduated in 2018. And I went to the University of Victoria in Victoria, Canada, if anyone's familiar. Over the next 4 years of my career, I tried a bunch of different roles. I did 3 different roles across 2 different companies. I did technical operations, which was a little bit of like tech support. I did e-commerce and merchandising. I did operations. I really just wanted to get my hands on a multitude of things to try and find what felt right for me. Because at that point, I was like, is this what the rest of my labor-induced life will be? And I really wanted to find out if there was something that felt like it fit better. At my previous company in 2021 is where I met my first mentor, my first like professional mentor. And this for me was really a turning point for when things changed. This mentor really gave me the space to learn about myself, to learn about what I liked, to listen, and to provide really valid and helpful feedback about what kind of things I might be interested in, and bringing her experience in to kind of shape, okay, well, what kind of things would you be good at and would you be interested in? And so she was the first person to tell me, hey, you should be a product manager. And I said, girl, what is a product manager? And that's what kind of sparked my entire journey. And from there, I dove straight into how do I make this pivot into a product role, having zero product experience before. And I will get into those details of exactly how I did that. And then in 2022, I joined Ticketmaster. I was a product manager for the mobile apps team. And then just this year, I moved to a senior product manager. And it's been so much fun so far. I have zero complaints. Product, she hit the nail on the head. It's exactly where I need to be. Okay, so what exactly is product? When I first started my journey, I felt that it was very like convoluted and filled with a lot of jargon and acronyms and terms. And even though I like worked in, corporate spaces, I still felt like product was this like looming cloud of what exactly do they do over there? And so I'm going to show you the quintessential diagram that you always see, but hopefully I'm going to explain it just a little bit more. So the typical definition of product is going to be that you're building products that ideally improve the lives of the users in a way that adds value to your company. So you're right in the middle of bridging all of these different places with different interests. So the business obviously wants to like further make revenue, let's say, and users want to have a good experience and you want to provide that good experience. And then there's also technical constraints. Can you actually do those things that you want to do? And is that feasible in your tech stack? And so that's the intersection where product lies, is bringing all these pieces together to then showcase the product in its best light and to push it forward into like further areas of innovation. So the other way that I kind of explain it that is the most like applicable is product is what we're building and why are we building it. So if I want to build an app that shows the most well-lit path to walk home, that's what I'm building. I'm building an app. And why do I want to build that? Well, I think it's going to help users be safer when they want to go for walks, when they want to explore their cities. And so that's what I want to build. And that's why I want to build it. And my engineering teams would decide how to build it. I'm not going to tell them what libraries to use, what languages to use, where they should structure their code. They're going to decide how to actually execute that. It's just up to me to unify them on what we're building and why we're building it. And then you have another facet of like project managers or the business deciding when are we going to build it. So yes, we want to make this app, but when can we actually make it? There's these other things that have to happen first, or can we do it now? And what trade-offs do we have to make as a result? So that is how I typically define product. But again, it's different depending on the companies. This is like the most generalized, overarching version of it. So I think the other major question of, okay, we kind of have an idea of what product does, but where does it fit in the rest of the organization? And where does it fit in terms of like a team structure? So here I've kind of shown like functional teams. So think of team 1 as like product, team 2 as engineers, and team 3 as business analysts. And so in some companies, they're going to have a structure that's functional. So it's based on each of those independent experiences. And so all the product people work together, or all of the business analyst people work together. But most companies are going to adhere to the one on the right, a cross-functional team. So this is essentially representatives from various functions. This is pod or squad style typically as well, where you're focusing on a single functional area and bringing together a bunch of individuals with different skill sets. And so again, this can vary heavily based on the company, based on the structure, based on the product itself. But typically in the example that's on the right, you'll see that there's the one purple. So let's say that that's product. And then you have a couple engineers, and then you have a couple of business analysts. And structures of teams can be anything. You can have a designer on that team. You can have your QA on that team. You can have DevOps on that team. So there's lots of different ways to configure the team, but typically it's just going to mean that you're going to get a bunch of individuals. They all have different skill sets, and they're coming together for a single functional area, typically to execute on. Okay, so continuing on, where does product fit? I think we have an idea of where it fits in the team. You have a product manager and you have some cross-functional folks, and you all come together on a team. But then where does it fit in the rest of the org? How does the collaboration happen across everywhere else? And so I've made this graph. On the x-axis, we have technical, quote unquote technical. On the farthest to the left, you have non-coding roles. So this just means that you're not going to be full-time coding versus technical with coding heavy on the far right-hand side. So that's highlighting that your full-time role is going to be a little bit more dependent on, or a larger portion of it will be a coding-focused role. On the y-axis, I have basically a scale of collaboration. So at the top, it's collaborating with non-technical teams. So this is going to be like stakeholders or the business or other folks who are not necessarily in deep in the technical components of your company or your product. And then at the bottom of the y-axis is collaboration with mostly technical teams. So this is talking about, your most of your day-to-day collaboration is going to be with other developers or QA or other people who are in the nitty-gritty of the like execution and the development itself. So I've labeled each of these quadrants just with kind of an overarching theme. So quadrant 1 is in the top right. And those are kind of those big picture thinkers. They have to be highly technical. They're going to be doing a lot of coding in their role, but they also need to be able to like zoom out and talk about that with stakeholders or with other folks in the business. We have quadrant 2 in the purple, which is the technical polyglots. So these are folks who are going to be non-coding. So they're a little bit less likely to be coding in their regular roles. But they're going to be collaborating pretty highly with non-technical teams. We have quadrant 3, which is bridge builders. So these are people who are not necessarily coding in the majority of their role, but they are talking a lot with technical teams. So I would say that there's some sort of interface typically here where they don't need to be coding as much. So think of like AWS or like GCP, where you have this like interface that you get to use, but it's still highly technical. You still need to have a lot of technical knowledge. This is not necessarily coding focused. And then quadrant 4 is those are your developers. So this is coding heavy and you're mostly talking with technical teams. Again, this is like my impression of what these areas are. Have I done each of these roles? No. I've talked to lots of people in these roles and tried to plot them the best I could to kind of illuminate where all of these options are. There also another caveat here is that this is still just a small subset of the roles that are out there. There is so much. And so many opportunities. And this is just like the tip of the iceberg. So finding where product fits in on that landscape, I have it circled here. So in my particular role and what I do, I'm on the non-coding side in my regular day-to-day role. I do a little bit, which is why I'm not all the way to the left. This is typically in like SQL, or I'm trying to pull my own data, or I'm looking at, like JSON files or looking at some like code, but I don't actually need to be coding in my role. And it's definitely not the majority of my role. Product also falls right in the middle of the collaboration with non-technical teams and the collaboration with technical teams. And I would say that's because in my role, I do it equally. I'm talking with non-technical teams just as much as I'm talking with my technical teams. And again, this may vary depending on the company and depending on the structure of where it kind of falls on that axis. Because if you're a more technical product manager, then maybe you are a little bit more into the coding, or maybe you are a little bit more with just the technical teams and not as much with the business. So it depends on the company, it depends on the structure. But you can kind of see where some of these like common titles that you've maybe seen of other jobs and where they all kind of fit. The other one that I point out here is a project manager. Because a lot of people ask me about the difference between project and product. So project manager is kind of in the top left-hand side. And they are, from my experience, they're typically collaborating more with those non-technical teams as opposed to with the technical teams. They're really focused on making sure that the business has all of their needs, that they are communicated with, and that they have effectively what they need to execute on their roadmaps. And so they are far from that. They're also far from again, it depends on the company, but they're typically farther from some of that like technical components as well. So they're really in that collaboration and really on the side of not coding in those roles. hopefully that made sense. I know this is a lot of information to digest, but really wanted to show you like where product fits in the landscape of other roles, especially as you're exploring other roles and you're like, okay, well, I really enjoy collaborating with technical teams and I do really enjoy coding. So maybe I need to be looking at more roles that are in that bottom right quadrant. Versus someone who sees this and they're like, you know what, I don't really like to talk to tech teams. I really prefer to talk to like sales or the business or whoever. But I do still want to have some of those coding elements. So where would I fall? And so hopefully it just kind of helps illuminate that all of these things vary across all of these axes, depending on the company, depending on the role, but you can at least kind of help plot for yourself what's going to be the most valuable for me and what's going to make sense with the stuff that I like to do. Okay, now that we know what product is, we know where it fits into the larger company, we know the structure, let me break down exactly what I do in my role as a senior product manager. So my role, I've split it up into components here. So meetings and communication make up 50%. This is an average. I would say some days I have 30% of my day is meetings. Some days there's 80% of my day is meetings. So it just kind of depends on the day. I would say that every day is different. I am a certified introvert, so I will tell you how I feel about all of these meetings. But essentially, these meetings are a culmination of a bunch of things. They are agile ceremonies, which are essentially the structure for helping your engineers execute on whatever those tasks are, and planning the work appropriately. There's calls for problem solving and one-off items. There's presentations, there's knowledge shares. There's also just answering questions, whether another team is working on a project and they're like, hey, this integrates with your product. Can you let me know how exactly that's going to work? And so there's a lot of those where you get to collaborate with these other teams because they want to launch something or I want to launch something, and our products directly integrate with each other. So we need to talk it out about, okay, how do these actually work together? And are there things that we're missing here in our implementation? 20% of my role I have as product requirements. So this is where I'm writing and researching the requirements to provide to my development teams. So when I'm talking about what I'm building and why I'm building it, I am writing that out into requirements that are explicit for my engineers to then execute on. I can't just say, yeah, I'd like to have a button on the homepage. I need to be a bit more descriptive about what exactly I'm looking for, about what kind of different states there might be, about why I'm doing that and why I'm putting it there. And all of those things kind of factor into writing and filtering through requirements. Product vision and strategy, I'm being nice and saying 15%. This is an area that I really, really like and I really enjoy and I want to do more. This is the area that's focused on vision and long-term planning and trying to keep us at the forefront of innovation. So researching competitors or analyzing current experiences or trends and trying to assess the business needs and put them into long-term ideas that can be executed in the app. So that is another component of my role. And then lastly, I have analytics and metrics. So this is going to be analyzing any of the behavior that's happening in our app currently to then inform decisions, assess how well a launch has gone, if it hasn't gone well, and report some of those findings back to the wider company. So this is not only like pulling that data, but analyzing that data, putting it into visualizations, and then making some decisions on it. If I see that, I put this button on the homepage and I really wanted people to click it and I see that no one's clicking on it, I need to dive deeper into why is no one clicking on it? Is it poor placement? Is it the wrong color? Is it just not being shown properly? And I need to dive deeper into all of those things to understand what exactly is going on. So that's kind of a summary of my role. And like I said, it ebbs and flows. This is, 1 week might be 80% meetings and, we're lowering down on everything else. Some weeks I might have a lot more time for some of that product vision and strategy. It all just kind of depends on what we have going on that week. But that's one of the parts I really enjoy about product, is that every day is a little bit different. I get little pieces of all of these areas all the time. And it makes it very interesting for me to be able to come in each day and see what I'm solving today. Okay, so I stole this graphic. Shout out to Sachin for he creates product content online. So I talked about my role, and I talked a little bit about like all the stuff that I'm doing, but how does that actually translate into deliverables? And how does that actually deliver to like the output of what I'm doing each day? Yes, I'm on a call and I'm solving a problem, but what does that actually mean? So for every company, like there's a wide range of deliverables. This is kind of a subset. And it really depends again on the product and the role and the company structure. But these kind of categories of execution focus versus vision and strategy versus design are really a good foundation for showing what kind of deliverables you may have. So for example, if I'm talking about product requirements, that's really in the design and execution areas. So it's that bottom product specs one. And in that, I'm also making decisions. I'm making decisions on, oh, okay, well, I'm seeing that this button isn't working the way I want to. So how do I find the best solution for that? I present that to my engineers, and maybe they say, you know what, we can do option one, or we can do this other option too. And then it's up to me to decide which one I think is better. There's a variety of other things that are compiled into the role. Like I said, there's some product vision and product strategy that I get to do. Team OKRs are something that I do all the time as well. So understanding where we're doing, how we're executing, and funneling that back to the business. And then lots of that design area, product roadmaps. So deciding, okay, well, what are we going to be building over the next couple months? And how does that play into our larger product vision and product strategy? These can be like documents, these can be presentations and decks. These can be just documentation, like in a Confluence, for example. And then the output of the product specs can be a product requirements document. It could also be like the tickets themselves that I then deliver to the engineers. So there's a lot of range. There's a lot of things. I'm not delivering all of these things every day. Definitely not. Some days I'm delivering just one thing. Some days I'm delivering none of them because I had meetings all day. So it really depends on the role and your product itself. But this is kind of the range of where those deliverables and outputs would be and what you're expected to execute on. And so if you like the sound of these, if you're like, okay, yeah, I feel like I would like to look at customer insights and I do enjoy making decisions, then I think that this is a valid area for you to keep exploring as a potential career path. Okay. Tools and technologies. I know I've said this a bunch of times already, that every company is different and every product is different. And that is still true in this slide as well. Every company is different in their tech stack. And so I kind of just broke these up into the major categories that are the most common for areas that you want to make sure that you kind of have checkmarked. So one area is visualizations. So if you're having conversations with a team and you can obviously verbally talk about these problems, but if you can show some sort of visualization to be like, hey, these are the areas that we're having trouble with, and this is the solution that we're proposing, those are super impactful. So visualization tools, my two favorites right now are Miro and Lucidchart. Documentation, this is a baseline for every position you take, whether that's product or not. Being able to document things so that other people have the knowledge that's needed, so that it's clear on what to do and how to execute. My favorite for that is Confluence. We have execution. So this is when I talk about writing a ticket for an engineer. A ticket is essentially like a body of work that I say, okay, this is what we need to do in this particular one. I'm not going to ask them to build an entire app, for example, in a single ticket. I'm going to break down that work into manageable chunks. And so each of those chunks becomes a ticket. And so Jira is the industry standard for that. Analytics. So this can be a whole host of things, from just like spreadsheets to like actual big data tools to data visualization tools. Again, these are some of my favorites. I really enjoy both data visualization tools of Microsoft BI and Tableau. So some of the pieces that are helpful to know and helpful to have on deck. Design tools. So there's lots. Figma is probably the most popular right now. Adobe XD, I also really enjoy. And then there's the category of organization and personal note taking. This is like less, I would say like less necessary for, highlighting on your resume, but super critical to being a good product manager is to be able to be organized, to be able to take notes, and to be able to execute on all the things that are happening that is likely all happening at the same time. I found one of the biggest challenges when I transitioned to product was my to-do list felt endless. I felt like I was never on top of everything. And I think that part of that overwhelm lessened when I was able to make sure that I was organized. Although even now I don't get to everything on the list, at least it's written down. It's out of my mind and I can work through those items sequentially. And so that's been really helpful to me. When you're looking at positioning your resume and you're looking at, okay, well, what kind of tools and technologies should I have? It's really these core categories that are going to be crucial of visualization and analytics and design and execution and documentation, as opposed to these specific tools, which are specific to like each company, specific to what companies use and specific to what you like to use. So that's my like asterisks for this slide. Okay, this is a big question. And this was the big question for me as well. And I'll get into that of, is product right for you? So for me, when I was trying to figure out what my next career move was going to be, and then eventually it being product, I did a bit of like self-work to be like, what was even the things that I liked to do? What were the things that I felt like I was good at? And I literally wrote them down. I was like, okay, I like to do these things. I wish my role had a little bit more of this. Oh, a previous role that I did had this, and I wish that, my future role has that. So for me, it was a combination of my like soft and hard skills. It was just kind of brain dumping everything out and being like, okay, what kind of things do I like? And then ranking them, being like, okay, what do I want most of my job to be? What do I want some of my job to be? I realized that I did not want like a one note position. I wanted something that was complex, that let me jump in and out of things, that let me do a bunch of things. And I really enjoyed being able to really explore all the different areas of me. And so when I was trying careers, especially when I was trying a career as a developer for a hot sec, I realized that as a developer, I used a very specific portion of me. I used basically my solving complex problems area the most. And I felt like the rest of my pie chart was forgotten. I felt like I didn't get to do some of that self-prioritization and work. I felt like I wasn't making as many decisions. I had zero of the creativity and strategy stuff that I enjoyed doing. I didn't have a lot of analytics and analysis in what I was doing. So for me, it was realizing that I needed a position that's going to make up and have a lot of these things in it. Even if it didn't have everything on my list, I knew what were the areas that were the most important to me and the areas that I enjoyed and liked the most. So this was how I kind of visualized, okay, what were the things that I needed to do to make the right career for me? And if you're a product manager and you're listening and you're looking at this list of stuff, you would realize this is the exact list of stuff that is a product manager's job. And so what my mentor did at the time was highlight that path for me. She was like, you like to do all these things, and all these things are literally exactly what a product manager would do. And I was like, girl, thank you so much, that you are correct. And I would have no idea until, someone helped illuminate that path and that was an option. And so that's what I encourage, is like finding out about yourself, finding out what you like, finding out what you're good at, what you enjoy, and the right career will kind of illuminate itself from that. And especially being able to talk to people, talk to mentors. It really was the thing that like accelerated my progress in trying to become like a full-time product manager. Okay, this is a lot about me. So in the whole sphere of like product and product managers, there's lots of different kinds. So when you're thinking about, okay, yes, I do like some of those things, but I didn't like some of the other things that were on her pie chart. There's different areas of product and there's different areas of product managers. And the hardest part that I explain to folks who talk to me is that I don't think that there's like a singular skill set to becoming a product manager. There's definitely some commonalities, and I will expand on those, but it tends to be kind of specific to the role or to the product or to the organization. So I've broken them up into some examples of like an archetype. So if you're looking at positions on LinkedIn and you're scrolling through and you're looking at what's available, you're seeing, okay, well, there's a core style PM. So they're really focused on extending the product's current functionality and making sure that it's working effectively. There's growth product managers who are really focused on how do we capture more of the market? How do we grow this product and continue to grow it? And then there's innovation product managers. They're really into how do we innovate in this space and either expand into adjacent products or adjacent markets. There's also more types on top of this. This is just some examples. Some are focused on data focused or marketing focused product or AI/ML focused product. And so because of that, it's difficult to pinpoint, okay, here's the list of 5 skills that you need to have on your resume and it'll guarantee a product position. I just don't think that that exists. I think that there are some themes that they're looking for, which I'll go into. But really, if you are a developer and let's say that you want to make the pivot to product, but you're really focused in the AI/ML space, an AI/ML focused product role will be able to lean into some of those skill sets that you already have really well, even though you need to build up some of those product related skill sets outside of your developer related skill sets. So there's a lot of factors to finding the right roles for you and finding the right role that encompasses everything that you do. For me, I was an iOS developer as my first entry to career. And then throughout my career, I worked in entertainment. And now I'm working as a mobile product manager in entertainment. And so I think having some of that lineage is what helped me pivot to a role that allowed me to become a full-time product manager, is having some of that adjacency. Okay, so the skills. So these are more focused on like, it's a kind of a combination of soft skills and hard skills. And I broke these into 2 categories. So there's the skills to break into product and there's the skills to become a successful product manager. I do think there's overlap here, but I think that some are a little bit harder to show on like a resume and show your skill set in, which is why it kind of falls into the other category of how to become successful in product. So the skills for breaking into product, these are the ones you're going to be hearing pretty often. So collaboration is number 1. This kind of goes hand in hand with excellent written and verbal communication. You need to be able to communicate ideas. You need to be able to communicate them effectively, and you need to rally a group to understand and be on the same page, whether they're technical or non-technical. For breaking into product, there's also a whole piece about making informed decisions. So this can be anything. If you are not a product manager in your current role, this could be anything from improving documentation and procedures or providing recommendation based on data that's available, anything that shows that you can make an informed decision and then lead that to an eventual improvement is huge, because that's essentially what product is. We are finding those opportunities and then executing on them to improve our product. And then lastly, on skills to break into product is leadership qualities. This is taking initiative. This is acting autonomously. This is you being able to self-direct some of the things, because as a product manager, the vision's coming from you. Yes, you're taking in all these data points. You're taking in how folks are interacting with your product. You're taking in business needs. You're taking in technical constraints. But in the end, the initiative to where we end up going is based on you. And so having some of those leadership qualities are really positive when trying to look at that pivot. Skills to be successful in product. Again, these are like very overlapping, right? Like problem solving and critical thinking is huge. But again, it's not the easiest thing to kind of showcase on a resume of being like, yes, I can solve a Rubik's Cube, no problem. Problem solving and critical thinking is not easy to show. And so I try to give a little bit more practical examples in the skills to break into product. And problem solving and critical thinking is something that's going to help you be successful and could definitely help you break into product. But again, just a little bit harder to like showcase. The last item on there is seeing the big picture and also getting into the details. This is quite the skill set. So how I describe this is being able to zoom into a problem and zoom out of the problem very seamlessly. If you're someone who really likes to get into the weeds, and when you're in the weeds, you like to stay down there, that's a certain type of role and a certain type of like product person, versus someone who only stays zoomed out. Maybe they're super visionary. They don't like getting into the details. They just want to inform that path going forward. So these are just some of the items to kind of help you be successful once you're in a product role. And again, are needed in product, but harder to showcase on a resume. Okay, we're almost done. How do we make the transition? Huge. Okay, so frequently asked questions. These are the ones that I get probably the most often. Do you need a technical background? I am in the camp of no. I think all the technical background does, all my, half of my degree in computer science does, is it helps me find solutions and communicate with developers faster. If they tell me, oh yeah, that's just a quick string change, I know that that's a 2-second change. Someone else would just need to learn that language and learn some of those skill sets. So I don't think that it's a necessity, but I say it's a learnable skill. And my advice is to not be afraid of technology. Getting yourself more comfortable. And sometimes that means taking a quick course. Sometimes that means just like getting into the weeds a little bit more is going to help you get more comfortable with technology and understanding it and talking about it. That is key here. Is a certification necessary? I would also say no. I did do one. I did a certification and I felt that it did give a little bit more structure and groundwork to the product space. Considering before I took the certification, I had no idea what it was and no idea what product was. I found that it was helpful for that. I also think it was helpful to show a little bit of focus on my resume because I jumped from so many different positions before. I tried a lot of different things. I tried a lot of different roles. I needed to show recruiters that product was obviously my next path and that was the next thing I was going to do. And so getting a certification kind of helped put that at the top of my resume to be like, hello, this is my focus. Okay, any tools or languages you must know? I think that, again, I feel like I'm giving wishy-washy answers, but every company is and every product is different. If you really want to work in mobile apps, get familiar with mobile design, get familiar with mobile development. If you're doing a personal project, maybe do it in the mobile space so that you can have experience in the areas that you're interested in. If you like it really depends on the product. Like if you decided to do a course and you want to do the whole course in Java, and you join a company and they did nothing in Java, they did everything in a different language, then the course did help you a little bit, but really all it did was get you more comfortable with technology, more accustomed to the terminology, and applying some of those principles over to this other language that the company may be using. Okay, can I pivot from XY degree or career? 100%. The different types of career pivots are kind of the foundation for making the right pivot for you and for what kind of roles you're looking for. So I broke these up into 3 categories. Category 1 is pivoting your role. So for example, you're a business analyst in the healthcare industry and you want to be a product manager. The easiest pivot for you to make would be in the same industry, because you can show, hey, I already know your customer base. I already know the people that you interact with. And all I need to bring is more product manager knowledge and know-how, but I can do that because I already have all this experience in your industry. So it makes that pivot just a little bit easier. Pivoting industry. So this is keeping the same role, but just moving industries. So let's say you're a business analyst in healthcare and you want to become a business analyst in entertainment. This is probably the most common pivot that you see people do of, they're in a particular space, but they do enjoy their role and they just want to do the same things that they're doing, but in a different space. And then number 3, which is the most difficult, it's definitely not impossible, but is pivoting your role and your industry at the same time. So you're a business analyst in healthcare and you want to be a product manager in entertainment. You really have to show recruiters and kind of hand feed to them all of the examples and parallels that you have with this role that you're attempting to go forward with. And that is not an easy task to do. I typically say that a resume is like 60 to 70% marketing and 30 to 40% content, because it's really about getting that information to the recruiter quickly and easily for them to be able to see what you're trying to do and accept it and be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense to me. If there's questions, if they're like, I'm not really sure what this person wants to do next, or this resume seems like a spray and pray, they just sent this to a bunch of roles, that's what's going to end up landing you in that no pile. Okay. This is all the hot goss. This is what we were hoping to get to. My top application tips. So number 1, this is like a controversial tip, but I encourage showing a little bit of personality on your resume. I'm not saying go crazy with the colors. I'm not saying, add a photo or do it in Canva. I'm saying if you have a little interest section, put something on there. Put something on there that's unique to you. If 100 students apply to a position, you all have a 4-year degree, or everybody did a boot camp, what's going to make you stand out from the crowd? Yes, there's elements of your experience, but if you can tie any of your interests back to the company as well. If I applied to Disney Plus, I'm going to say, yeah, binging the Kardashians on Disney Plus is one of my interests, because I want to show that I care about that product and that I'm aligned with that product and that I'm familiar with that product. Number 2, tailoring your resume. I know that this is the worst advice. No one wants to tailor their resume. I know it's a lot of work, but in the same example, there's 100 students who apply, 80 of them tailored their resume. It's immediately going to land you in the no pile. And so what we really need to bring them is get you into that yes pile. And that's going to come with tailoring your resume to be more specific based on the role. Showing focus on your resume. If you have varied experience like I did, that is totally fine. But you need to bring the relevance to as much as possible to the role that you're applying for. Show the recruiter that it's obvious why your next step is product. And lastly, this is my favorite tip. When searching for jobs on LinkedIn, search for the skills, don't search titles. Of course, you can search titles, but everybody's searching titles. So you can search things like building relationships or product roadmap, or you can even search tools. If you really love Tableau, or you really want Python in your role, you can search that, search Python product, any sort of combination of these keywords, and explore various titles that might show up. Not all companies call the same roles the same things. And so this is a good opportunity to explore kind of what's out there. Okay. References, resources. I'd say take a screenshot of this page. I have the product deliverables visualization on here. Some of my best interviewing resources that I like the most. The PM interview is great for practice. Grow with Google is great speaking practice, and review for like behavioral questions. It lets you kind of live interact. This is shameless self promo. I also have a website with product and interview resources. It's just my first name, last name.com. Okay. There was a lot of stuff there. How are we doing?
We're doing great. We're doing great. We have some time for questions, but I just want to say this was by far one of the most amazing presentations. Thorough, clear, felt the sprinkle of your personality. So I just want to really give you your flowers. This was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad that it landed.
Absolutely. Like the people were here for it.
I got
Absolutely impeccable. They were saying like they loved the part about the meetings and all that kind of stuff as well. And of course we want to say hello to everyone as well. Even Kat said this is the best one she's been to. So
Oh my God, thank
y'all
you.
sprinkle of that jazz magic, okay? Um, let's get into some. I saw Team Massive post a question. So she asked, or he or they, she, they asked, do you normally see those candidates without tools experience land roles at your company?
So I think that it depends on what tools. So I do see people who are at roles in my company who just have similar tools to what I described here. So instead of like, let's say that they need a cloud product and we are looking for someone with Google Cloud, and they have AWS, that is still like a commonality. And so there is some of that like transferableness. I'd say if you have like zero tools experience, then typically not. You want some of those tools experiences. You want to list out, especially any of the ones that you have, if you have anything. But usually you do need at least something that's referenced on the job description to be able to land some of those roles.
Excellent. And I hope that answered your question. All right, next, Lu Yi Yap. Hey, Jasmine. So happy to see you've landed a role you really enjoy. This has been so helpful. Would you please share the certifications you took or recommend to get into the product manager role?
Yes. So I did a certification at UC Berkeley. It was their continuing education product management certification. I will say it's a little expensive. So I was lucky. My previous company did pay for it. And so I think that was one of the reasons why I was able to do it. That particular certification, I think, really does a good job of expanding your learning on product. They do a little bit of foundational stuff, but I do know that there's other product certifications that do go a little bit more into foundational. I know that there's like Brain Station and there's, I think it's the AIPPM or PMM. On my website, I do have a comparison of all the certifications that I was thinking about. And so you can find all that on my website.
Awesome. Can you put your website in the private chat so that I can copy and paste it here?
Mm-hmm.
Love that. And honestly, the resources are bountiful, y'all. So please make sure you lean into that. Another question, what's the best way to build a portfolio or demonstrate relevant skills for aspiring product managers?
Okay, so portfolios is an area that's like product community is kind of divided. Some people are very pro portfolio. Some people are like, well, you don't need one. I did have one when I was applying. And really what I did was I took all of my cumulative like other experiences and put them through a product lens. So I was looking at, okay, how did I make informed decisions here? Did I lead anything on any of these projects? What kind of information did I pull together and try to create some sort of like strategy and story behind why that product was executed? I did it very simply. It was like a very bare bones website, and I just followed a structure. based on some of the resources that I saw online about like, how do you solve a problem? So defining that user group and then defining what that problem is, why that's a valuable problem to solve, and then eventually getting into the solution. So I think that if you want to do a portfolio, you feel like you have some of the resources and time to do it, I think you absolutely can. And I think that there's really great examples. What I would do is I searched on Twitter/X, and I would be product manager portfolios, and you would see tons of people posting, getting advice on theirs, and that kind of helped me find inspiration for building mine.
That was awesome.
Mhm.
So shout out to that. I just wanted to just highlight here Jasmine's website. You guys can go ahead and take a screenshot here, and feel free to leverage that as well. For our last question of the night, if there aren't any others, oh, I do see some coming in. Okay. Oh, hey, Paul. All right, let's highlight Paul. Any advice to break into more true product roles after working as a product owner for like a bank? Good question.
Mhm. So I didn't dive too much into it, but a product owner is typically in the area, depends on the company, but typically they're focused on execution. And a product manager kind of has this hybrid of execution and then also strategy and vision. And so your previous experience is going to show amazingly that you have that execution portion. And what you need to show or try to show is some of that like vision and strategy. And so any projects that you were able to take lead on or opportunities that you can take now, even in your current role, to take some lead on to show some of that like expansiveness of being like, I can do more than just execute. There are more pieces to me as a product person. I think that's what's going to help kind of propel you into that hybrid space, which is where a product manager role typically lies.
Mm, that was excellent. Paul, I hope that answered your question. And then officially the last question of the night. What advice would you give to someone seeking to build confidence in leadership in their career growth? Let's say that they're interested in becoming a product manager, but they have maybe like a shy personality.
Hmm.
What are some tips and tricks that you would advise on?
Yeah. Um, for me, I think the turning point for me was getting a mentor, getting someone that I could talk to, getting someone who could give me advice on how I was feeling, if I felt like I wasn't really succeeding in a particular area, and how to build like some of those skills in those areas that I felt like I was weak at. I think the other part of having a mentor that helped was she was able to assess a little bit more. She was able to kind of see the problems and be like, oh yes, I've seen this before. This is the solve. And I
Mm,
felt like that was something when I was early in my career that I felt very lost at. I felt like I wasn't very good at piecing those things together. I just felt like I was in the woods and I was like, there's no light. Where do I go? And so I felt like a mentor really helped that. And in those conversations, kind of helped me build some of that confidence in terms of being accepting of my skill set. I think that
mm,
the other part of this really quickly is the leadership skills. Volunteer, y'all. Like I was in committees in all of my previous companies. I try my best to volunteer with some nonprofits and to find opportunities to like essentially integrate myself with groups that I don't normally do it with. Because I think that that's what gets me out of my comfort zone. That's what pushes me. And that's what ends up building some of that like confidence in what I do and some of those leadership skills.
I think that is amazing advice. And shameless plug, we are looking for a volunteer product manager. So, for those who might be interested, shout out to y'all. Feel free to reach out to us. I definitely want to say if you enjoyed this session, please like this video and take a moment to either screenshot this or take a picture and put some takeaways on LinkedIn. You can tag Jasmine as well.
Mhm.
Let's start and continue the conversation there so that if other individuals are interested in wanting to learn more, they'll know that they have this content here that is evergreen. So, Jasmine, any last thoughts? Anything that you really want to make sure that folks walk away from this session with?
Yes. I think if you've looked at the product and you've been like, yes, this is the career path for me, 100% you can do it. 100% you can get there. 100% you can find a way to break in, because if this is what you want and this is, the career path that feels like it makes the most sense for you, there are people who are in your corner. You got me and Chanel. You got this whole community who are here to back you up and help you get into these roles. So you can do it. That's it.
Absolutely. Well, Jazz, we're so grateful to have had you. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your spice, your zest with us today. We want you to have a wonderful rest of your day and your evening.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're
Bye,
welcome.
everyone.
Bye. All right, y'all. Today was fire. Okay. Your girl Jazz came. She conquered. She saw all the things. I really hope that you all continue to connect with her. I'm gonna go ahead and highlight her website again. Please make sure you go ahead and check out the resources. She is also, like I said, on LinkedIn as well. Very responsive. Okay, it's giving accessible. All right. Um, and we love all of that. Tomorrow, you all can continue to stay tuned. We have another session with Evan Moss from Apple. He's going to lean into what does it look like to be an engineering project slash program manager at Apple. He literally leans into all of the products regarding iPad. So if you're interested in that, please make sure that you stay tuned. It will be the same time at 6 p.m. tomorrow, Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. But yeah, wishing you all a wonderful rest of your evening. Thanks again for being here. If you did enjoy this, remember to like and share your insights on LinkedIn so we can continue the party over there. Bye, everyone.